My name is Claire Duval. I'm 32 years old. And nothing I had lived up until that moment could have prepared me for what I was about to face. That day, I got home earlier than usual. The school where I taught had cancelled the last few classes due to a power outage. All I wanted was a hot shower, my favorite cotton pajamas, and to fall asleep wrapped in Thomas's arms, like we used to do on rainy days. But the moment I opened the door, I froze. The smell. A sweet scent, strong, feminine, and not just any perfume. I knew that fragrance since I was 17. Camille. Instantly, my entire body turned cold. My mind tried to deny it, but instincts don't lie. My heart already knew. I walked up the stairs. Slowly. Each step heavier than the one before. The silence in the house, almost offensive. And then I opened the bedroom door. That was the first moment my life ended. But I didn't know yet that the worst was still to come. They froze. She tried to cover herself. He whispered my name, barely a sound. But I didn't hear anything. Because in that moment, the entire world had stopped. I walked away. 2 hours later, I came back. Alone. I opened the closet. Pulled out a suitcase. And right there, on the cold floor of my bedroom, between a packed bag and a life that no longer felt like mine, I decided to disappear. That same night, I booked a one-way ticket to Dubai. I didn't know anyone. I had no job. And I wasn't confident in the language. But at that point, anywhere in the world seemed less painful than home. What I didn't know was that in Dubai, my past would return. Wearing a new face. And a smile I should have never trusted. When the plane landed, I could still smell her. It's strange how certain things cling to us, even when we desperately want to forget. Dubai felt like another planet. The airport was huge, gleaming, and smelled like cinnamon and cold air conditioning. People rushed past me with expensive luggage, flawless clothes, and a gaze that looked right through you. No one there cared about a lonely French woman with red eyes and a soul on the edge. I got in a taxi. The driver didn't speak French. My English came out all wrong. He gave a slight smirk, like someone silently judging, and turned up the radio. That was the moment I understood what it means to feel invisible. I arrived at the tiny studio apartment I had booked on my phone. A white room, no pictures, no memories. I sat on the bed and stared at the wall. 4 hours. In the days that followed, I wandered the city like someone searching for something they didn't know how to name. Markets selling things I didn't understand. People avoiding eye contact. Clothes I wasn't sure I was allowed to wear. In Paris, I had an identity. Here, I was just a shadow. I started inventing routines. Walking to the same cafe on the corner. Buying the same pomegranate juice. Posting filtered stories with unfiltered captions. But the truth? All I wanted was to sleep without seeing their faces. Without smelling Camille's perfume that still felt stuck to my skin. One night, I was walking back from the market, arms weighed down by bags. And a heart weighed down by something heavier. It was when the elevator doors opened that he stepped in, like it was nothing. But to me, it was everything. Gray dress shirt, sleeves rolled up, jacket draped over his arm. He had that kind of presence that fills a room without making a sound. And then, his scent. Sandalwood with something warm and amber-like. Subtle. Steady. Unforgettable. Not overpowering. Just like him, present, without asking for space. Our eyes met for less than 2 seconds. But it was enough. In that look, there was something I couldn't explain. And maybe I shouldn't even try. "Are you okay?" he asked, in English, with a soft accent I couldn't quite place. I nodded. My lips tried to smile, but didn't quite get there. "Are you new here?" he continued, his voice low and calm. "Yes. France." He extended his hand. "Omar. Claire." We introduced ourselves like it was the most ordinary thing. But my heart was racing, and my hands were damp. He was a stranger. But in that moment, he was the only human who truly saw me. We talked for just a few minutes before he stepped off on his floor. But as the doors closed, something lingered. Like something had just started. Something that couldn't be undone. That night, I thought about him. In the following days, we ran into each other 3 more times in the elevator. Never planned. Never by accident. But always at the exact moment I needed to feel seen again. He was kind. Smart. Funny. And he had a way of listening that made every word I said feel like it mattered. But there was something in his eyes. A shadow. I tried to ignore it. Because for the first time since I arrived, I felt alive again. What I didn't know was that feeling would come at a cost. And I was about to find out what it was. In the days that followed, he became a constant. Coffee in a hidden spot near the marina. Small talks in the building lobby. Short messages, full of unspoken things. I didn't want to get involved. But he had a way of showing up exactly when the pain came back. As if he could sense the exact moment I was about to fall apart. His scent, sandalwood and amber, already lived on my pillow. And then, came the details. He never told me where he worked. Never answered calls when I was around. He used to say, "My life is complicated." And always looked away when I asked about his past. At first, I thought it was mysterious. Then, it felt strange. And finally, it started to feel dangerous. One night, we met on the rooftop. He brought wine. I brought my questions. "Are you married?" He smiled. A short, almost sad smile. "Not officially." That sentence hit me like a wall. What does that even mean? He didn't answer right away. Just looked up at the sky. The lights of Dubai sparkled beneath us. But I could only look at him, waiting for a truth I probably didn't want to hear. "I'm committed. For many years. It's complicated. Everything here is complicated." That was the moment I realized. I wasn't a new beginning. I was a distraction. A risk. I went back to my apartment without saying a word. The suitcase was still there, in the corner of the room. The same one I used to run from betrayal. And right then, I knew. Maybe I had crossed the world. Only to end up in the exact same place. The next night, he invited me to his apartment. He said he wanted to show me the view from the balcony. I went. I knew I shouldn't. I knew there was something about this that didn't feel right. But the truth is, I was exhausted from being alone. The balcony was beautiful. Golden lights shimmering on the water. And that kind of silence only tall buildings seem to know. We talked for hours. He told me about an arranged engagement. About a relationship built on convenience. He said he'd never felt for anyone what he felt with me. And in that moment, I wanted to believe him. Because sometimes, we accept crumbs, just to feel like we still exist. His touch came slowly. First, his hand over mine. Then, the kiss. And then, everything else happened as if time had stopped. But time didn't stop. The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing. They weren't messages. They were notifications. Someone had published photos of me and Omar on a local celebrity gossip site. The headline: Mysterious romance between Al Hadi Group heir and foreign woman in Burj Al Noor building. The images were all there. In the elevator. At the cafe. On the balcony. My face was blurred, but only just enough to show someone tried to hide my identity, and failed. That's when everything clicked. Omar was engaged. To someone well-known. Wealthy. Powerful. And I was the headline. The paparazzi had followed us for days. Maybe he knew. Maybe he didn't. But what truly broke me was his silence. No message. No explanation. Nothing. I stayed inside for days. Locked in. Embarrassed. Cancelled by a city that never knew me, but now thought it did. And it was in that silence that something inside me started to shift. One hot afternoon, I walked barefoot to the beach. I sat in the sand. Took a deep breath. And asked myself, why do I keep trying to fit into spaces where I was never invited? I went home and deleted all my social media. Started searching for expat women's groups. Became friends with a Filipina named Jenna, who introduced me to others, women with broken stories too. Together, we built something. A support network. A safe space. And for the first time, a place where I didn't have to pretend to be strong to be respected. With time, Dubai stopped being an escape. It became ground. Home. A new beginning. Today, I walk the same streets where I once felt invisible. And I smile. Not because I've forgotten. But because I'm no longer the woman who let herself be forgotten. My name is Claire Duval. And I survived a marriage, a betrayal, a scandal. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. Maybe you've also trusted someone who didn't deserve it. Or had to start over somewhere no one knew your name. Or maybe you're still trying to piece together a life that's fallen apart. If that's you, breathe. You're not alone. Tell me in the comments what this story made you feel. Or share it with someone who needs the strength to start again. And if you want more stories like this, real, flawed, human stories about pain and rebirth, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and turn on notifications. After all, sometimes we don't need answers. We just need to know, it's possible to survive, and bloom.